We're into the semi-finals at Indian Wells. Alcaraz versus Draper, Medvedev versus Holger Rune. But will we get the same final we've had the last 2 years? Stay tuned to find out.
Here we go, another podcast, and we're closing in the final few matches of Indian Wells. And there's no Jannik Sinner here. He is the player which a lot of people would have backed to win. He's 1 month into his suspension. And when we're looking at the new big three, we've got Alcaraz, we've got Sinner. Holger Rune was there a few years ago. But I think there's someone, rightfully so, from where we live, Ben, in London, who is replacing him. And it is Jack Draper, who at the moment is looking very good and should be cracking the top 10 very soon.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned Jack Draper. Could, if he wins his semi-final against Carlos Alcaraz, he could be in that top 10 picture. And it's an outstanding tournament from Jack Draper. I didn't expect him to play this well. The way he took out Taylor Fritz, and I'm literally lost for words against Shelton, who I think is quite a similar player to Draper in some respects. He's got a massive serve, big hitting, but he made that look fairly easy as well. Straight sets wins, and some of the shot-making ability from Jack Draper this week. He looks like he's out the point, but he's hitting winners down the line. And the serve, he looks confident. He's able to serve out matches, but the next test is a lot stiffer because Carlos Alcaraz, I mean, this guy, he is all excitement on the tennis court. And some of the shots he's been playing, I think I need some new trainers, mate, because I can't get to those balls at the net, play these drop shots. I love watching him play. This one is billing up to be a big one.
Yeah, I think you need more than just new trainers, Ben, to be able to reach the speed of Alcaraz. But with Jack Draper, I think it is kind of the story of Indian Wells. He has taken this opportunity to come out of the shadow of a Jannik Sinner and show that he is one of these young players to be considered. And it feels a bit like with Holger Rune. He's playing very well off the back of Sinner not being here. I have a feeling that if Sinner was here, we wouldn't see Rune playing so well. I can't quite work out why, but it seems to be him knowing that, I think it's his level of arrogance and confidence, what we see from Rune. He likes to be the guy. When Sinner's there, he doesn't really believe so much in himself, and we see him losing to players who we'd expect him to beat. With Jack Draper, it's a complete different thing. I think it's just his moment. He is now producing great results. And who he's played so far, you need to put some serious respect on the names. I mean, Joao Fonseca, for a start, he bageled him in that second set. Jenson Brooksby, who is coming back to, when he plays his best, he's a top 10 player. I think we both agree on the hard courts in America. He can be a top 10 player at his best. He's not there yet, but he's coming close and had some really good performances in the opening round. Who did he beat again, Brooksby? Someone good.
Can't think of it.
Bring it up. It was Felix. He beat Felix and he also beat Bonzi, but the Felix one was really impressive. And then Draper's gone on to beat Taylor Fritz, someone who I was backing to go very far in Indian Wells. I think I had him going all the way to the final. Not an easy opponent. And that was the match I watched. I think it was a really high quality affair between the two of them. And Draper is handling the conditions, the physicality of the sport, the mental side. He looks very composed and very powerful. And I mean that in every regard. We know he's got a good serve, but I think he's very aggressive this year at Indian Wells. And I think he is a better player when he's on the front foot. And we're seeing this new front foot Jack Draper, like we saw at UTS when he won it a few years ago in London. And I think Alcaraz has his work cut out. Despite how good Alcaraz is playing, this should be a really exciting matchup. I don't think Draper is expected to win at all. I think the bookies will have Alcaraz as the big favourite. But Draper, if he plays his game like he's been doing the last few weeks, he lost, remember, in Doha in the final to Rublev, then I think this could be a real good match what goes the distance into a third set. And I think if that is the case and Alcaraz manages to produce something special, so be it. That will still be a great tournament for him, and I think he's advanced his tennis to get to this position. So credit to Jack Draper. I'm really excited to see what the season is going to bring. I've already tipped early on a few weeks ago that I think he is going to win Wimbledon this year. So let's wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, he can only get better. This kid is something special. And the way that he's done this week, look, he's not dropped a set in the lead up to this semi-final, and he hasn't even been to a tie break. Can you believe that? So every set has been relatively comfortable. It's been like just a break here, a break there, maybe even two. But he's got one of the hardest tests. He's got the guy who is going for 3 in a row, which is Carlos Alcaraz, down the other end of the court. And Francisco Cerundolo, that match against Alcaraz, I thought he played incredibly well. Cerundolo, very underrated player on the tour. Great agility, is able to get around the courts very, very quickly. A lot of good recovery. But Alcaraz, just in the big moments, was able to mix it up with a drop shot here, a slide there, just crazy agility. And that was the difference, really, between the two players. Jack Draper, I think, has more power than Francisco Cerundolo. He has a better serve than Francisco Cerundolo, and he's a lefty as well, which can sometimes cause problems. I think this match, it's going to be hard to call. Alcaraz, the rightful favourite, but I don't think it's going to be as easy and as plain sailing as some people probably think. And even Alcaraz himself, he was asked about Draper after his match, and this is what he had to say.
He said he's really dangerous. His level is really high. He's one of the toughest players right now on tour. He has good rhythm from the baseline. He has great shots. I have to be ready for that and focus. I'll try to play my tennis. Let's see if the weather is going to be a bit better. I'm just excited to face him because the last time he had to retire with an injury. So just excited about getting another match against him. And Carlos Alcaraz is someone who you generally believe when he says he's so excited to play players, because he is that type of player who just loves tennis, a bit like a Rublev of a few years ago, who just constantly wants to be out on the court, loves the challenge of playing new people. With Alcaraz, you really do feel that in the way he plays. He just wants to be playing against the very best players, and that is, I think, what motivates him. He really cares about putting on a show and being that guy and seeing and testing his level, because he wants to be the best. He's a great fan of tennis as well, Alcaraz. He's very knowledgeable about everything what's happened in Federer's career, Nadal's, and even before that. I saw him doing a quiz the other day at Indian Wells, and he was answering pretty much everything right of historical events in tennis. And for someone as young as him, I thought that was quite impressive. He clearly loves the sport, and I think he relishes on the opportunity to play against one of the very best in Jack Draper right now. And I hope that we're going to see an injury-free match between the two of them, and one where the wind can drop off and we get to see a proper match of tennis, because the wind's been very frustrating.
The wind has been terrible, really. They've had to stop play multiple times. There's been interruptions, which you never know the way that the matches are going to play out.
It's disruptive.
Very much so, but it proves how much of a strong player you can be if you can come back after all of these interruptions and still continue with your good tennis. Like Alcaraz, you see what he's been able to do. Not dropped a set either. And the best result of the week for him, double breadstick in Dimitrov in the round before. I feel that matchup, it sort of is billed a little bit like that, because Alcaraz can take someone like Dimitrov apart if he really wants to. Cerundolo, closer match, but still straight sets. And now he's facing Draper, who he has a 3-1 head-to-head against. Obviously, last time, what was it, Australian Open, when Draper retired. Time before that was Queen's Club on the grass, where Jack Draper defeated Alcaraz, the only player, I believe, to defeat Alcaraz on grass in how long? A few years?
I think ever.
Yeah, probably right. So
no, he lost. Alcaraz lost in his first year at Wimbledon.
Well, have a look here. So the other, he's got one win in between two retirements against Alcaraz. One at Indian Wells and one at the Australian Open. Draper's surely getting better with these conditions as well. He doesn't look tired. Doesn't look like he's going to pass
better
out.
For sure.
Definitely does. It's filling me with much more confidence for him acclimatizing in these hot conditions.
Definitely. And I think this is a real popcorn match. So make sure everyone that you plan your days accordingly and you're watching this one. It should be an epic, and we'll be sure to be doing a podcast soon afterwards.
Definitely. Shall we say predictions for the end? We'll do both of them, or do you want to do it now?
Let's do predictions at the end. So we'll go through the other match now.
Okay, perfect. And I'm going to start with
Daniil.
the celebration. Yeah, the celebration. We've got to get to the celebration.
My champion, by the way, guys. Just a reminder, I do have Daniil Medvedev winning Indian Wells. People called me crazy, but the draw's opened up quite nicely for him, I must admit. There's been a few players on that half who have been dropping out and losing matches you wouldn't expect them to lose. And I think Medvedev's taken full opportunity of these chances he's been given with a draw, but still has to beat some tough players. And Arthur Fils, as we've seen a few times now, is not an easy player to play. When he's serving well, he can be very dangerous. And it proved to be the case because this one went all the way to the wire. And really, you'd say that Fils maybe had the better of the match because in that second set, he won 6-2. In the third, I didn't actually watch the third set, but I saw a bit of the tiebreak. It seemed like Fils was pushing. So, yeah,
but Fils was up a break in that final set, and then Medvedev came back. There was a lot of breaks of serve. I think the wind was really causing people problems.
Definitely. But it wasn't a Daniil Medvedev win where he was on top. I'd say Fils, if anything, edged it for probably more of the match than Medvedev did. It was still a very close one.
Yeah.
Despite that, Medvedev come for a tough match, and it doesn't happen often because recently the ones that have been going to deciding set or the really tight moments in a tie break towards the end, Medvedev has been losing. He's finally won one.
Yeah, and you saw how much it meant to him at the end. I was really shocked when I saw this celebration, as was everybody across the tennis world, because they said he didn't even celebrate like this when he won the US Open. So that just goes to show how much of a mental sport tennis is, that a result like this, and I think it did warrant a big reaction. The one thing I was thinking throughout the whole of the third set was, every time Arthur Fils was able to, like, say, hold serve from break points down, every time he would have a big point, he would be going into the changeover, roaring. And quietly, Medvedev was just sat there, bottling it up, just going like, small fist pump. Come on, just play the next point. Small fist pump. And Arthur Fils was hitting maybe some double faults here, missing some big shots here, but hitting some winners. And then at the end, Daniil just exploded with this eruption of this massive dancing, jumping, flailing arms. It was great to see. I was thinking he was becoming a bit robotic and we didn't get to see Daniil Medvedev's emotions on a tennis court. And I love the fact he said afterwards that because he's lost so many close matches, that's why it meant so much to him. And it just goes to show that it said he plays on your mind. If you get to the tie break right at the end of a match and you keep losing them, you keep thinking, now I'm going to lose it again.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He won it. Well done to him. And are we going to get that same final again? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, let's wait and see. I think if I'm looking at it now, I feel that Daniil Medvedev most likely won't win Indian Wells, but I think he's got a really good shot of getting to the final because on his draw, he gets to avoid the Alcaraz and Draper until a final. And you'd have to say that Rune is an easier opponent than either of the other two, but that's just my opinion. So on that basis, he's got a shot of winning. I think he's got a better chance of getting to the final than either of the other two. But I would favour now the winner of Alcaraz and Draper to win the title. I think it's hard to look past them. I believe you had Alcaraz winning right from the start.
Yeah.
Didn't you have him beating Djokovic in the final?
No, I don't think so. I had Djokovic going out to him they're in the same quarter, so that would have been very difficult.
Semis. Sorry, yeah, of course.
So I believe, I don't know if I had the same final as before, but just with Alcaraz winning. But they're definitely getting to the final this often because they're so good on the surface. Holger Rune
you didn't have what's his name, Medvedev in the final.
I can't remember who I had. I'd have to go back and check. But I know I had Alcaraz winning the whole thing anyway.
Might have been Zverev.
No, I doubt that. I had him going out, I think, second round. Which is
Tsitsipas. Was it Tsitsipas?
Who knows? If it was,
You
then,
love Tsitsipas.
well,
You said he's back.
Well, he was actually playing really well until he ran into what is Holger Rune, who we both have in our top 10 for the year. And luckily, he's doing well at a Masters event. Shot of the tournament, some called it, against Tsitsipas. He did a tween lob to perfection. It was all the way back here and ended up all the way into that top left-hand corner. It was incredible. And he's followed that up by just beating Talon Griekspoor. No one thought Talon Griekspoor would be this boogeyman on the tour that no one wants to play in 2025, but it's turning out that way. He's always seems to be in the headlines, this Dutchman. But look, 6-love, 6-3 in the final 2 sets. I think this was an excellent performance from him against a tough player, and rightly so. He's in the semi-finals. Can he go one step further?
Griekspoor's okay. That's all I'm going to say. He's a good player, but he's nowhere near a top 10 player. And a lot of these other names we're talking about, they are top 10 players who can compete with the very best. For me, Griekspoor has never been of a level of a top 10. He's having a good season. He's putting some good results together. But I'm not surprised at all. And I think Rune is pretty fortunate in the fact that he gets someone like him in a quarter final of a Masters event.
Disrespectful.
No, I think it's a player you'd want to get. Saying that, Medvedev lost to him last week, so that can happen. And I'm not saying he's a bad player by any means. I think he is a really good, solid, dangerous opponent. But if Rune plays his best, if any of these players we've mentioned plays their best, they should be beating Griekspoor. And if they don't, I think it's more on them than the opponent. Despite that, let's speak about Holger Rune. I truly believe not having Sinner here has given him a massive boost. I think it motivates him more, knowing that there's going to be more eyes on him and people wanting to watch him. You've obviously got Alcaraz on the other half, but he wants to be that guy who can compete with these. He wants to be part of the big three. We've got the King's Slam towards the end of the year the 6th King's Slam in Saudi Arabia. He wants to be part of the picture. There's people saying he shouldn't be there anymore. He's not as good as, say, are they going to replace him with a Fonseca, for example, a new player on the tour coming through? It's certainly possible, and I think he has struggled this last year with the emergence of Yannick Sinner playing so well. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section on this, thoughts, and let me know what you think, Ben, because I've not really spoke about that with you before, but it's something I keep thinking about. Despite that, of course, there's a great player in there. Do I think he can beat Medvedev? I don't think he will. I really don't. I think we're going to see Daniil Medvedev advancing and beating Holger Rune. But if Rune plays a really good match, we can see a good one.
I agree. I think that I didn't really even think about Sinner not being there affecting his performance, but the fact that he's been humbled by Sinner so many times and it hasn't even really been close. He probably looks at Yannick Sinner and thinks, how do I become that consistent on a tennis court? Because even though Holger Rune has been winning, he has dropped a set in 2 of the rounds. Beat Tsitsipas in straight sets, which was a really good result. But still dropping sets, but grinding out victories. He is susceptible still to mental wobbles on a tennis court. If he can overcome that and learn how to reset and take on a new challenge each time, I think he'll be okay. But at the moment, jury's still out on Holger Rune. But I think it's a sort of nearly 50-50 with Daniil in this semi-final, to be honest, considering Daniil's been a bit shaky this year as well. He's been a bit shaky this year as well. And the fact that Arthur Fees, I know you're saying Talon Griekspoor, you could have had it picked nicely. Arthur Fees should be probably in the same rung, I'd say, as Talon Griekspoor.
I think he's a better player. I think he's got a higher ceiling than Arthur Fees. He's a younger player, someone who has not maybe had so much challenger experience, but come through to the main tour and is showing that he can play with the very best. He is someone in a few years, if he gets really good, could be in a top 10. Griekspoor, afraid to say it, will never be inside the top 10.
You could be right. He's a sort of late bloomer, let's call him, Talon Griekspoor, and he has paid his dues on the Challenger Tour, so fair play to him. I like to see
he was the best. He was the best for a few years there, killing everyone.
In a row or something, or
I remember it. Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, and I'm not diminishing him at all, by the way, guys. For anyone saying it, I think he's a fantastic player and someone who you want to avoid. But let's be realistic. He's not at the level of any of the other three. And if they play their best, they should beat him, including Daniil Medvedev. Just quickly, Ben, speaking about, I know I was speaking about Holger Rune and Yannick Sinner. Something interesting in their head-to-head is it is 3-2 to Yannick Sinner. Holger Rune won the first two in 2022 and in 2023, Monte Carlo and Sofia. Since then, Sinner's won all of them. ATP Finals, Monte Carlo, and then Australian Open at the start of the year. Obviously, that really good match when Sinner was injured and he was able to come through and it looked like he was going to lose after losing that second set. I think Holger Rune was considered a bigger player than what Yannick Sinner was a few years ago. Then Sinner become a beast, and I think that's what's unsettled him. He was better. He was considered a better player than Sinner only a few years ago. Sinner has completely blown him out the water since then, won the last three, and I think that is a big reason towards what I'm saying and what's caused it.
Yeah, I think Daniil Medvedev can probably feel a bit of Holger Rune's pain with winning against Sinner multiple times in a row and then losing multiple times in a row as well. I think that's been sort of a cause for Daniil Medvedev's downfall a little bit as well.
Definitely. I think you can consider that as well for Daniil Medvedev.
Sinner is going around ruining homes all over the world by just beating up these players who are at the top of the sport and making them question. Even Sasha Zverev. I think I said in a recent video, I put that down to the fact he got humbled so easily in that final is why he's now questioning how good he is at tennis, probably. He's the second best player in the world, but he's nowhere near the world number one. So it does make you question everything, I think, when you play Yannick Sinner and he beats you so easily. Anyway, the head-to-head between these two is 2-1. Daniil Medvedev beat him in the Indian Wells quarter-final last year. The courts, a bit quicker, are they? I don't know. No one's really said that they're that much quicker, and there's not been that much evidence of it. You'd think, surely it's going to be the same result. Well, we'll get to a prediction, shall we?
I've already given it away. I think Daniil Medvedev beats him. I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem. I think it will be straight sets. I think we'll see a tie break in the first, and the second set will be a 6-2.
Interesting. Well, I think it's going to be 3 sets, but I don't think Holger Rune will win if it's 3 sets. I think that this will be... I think it's actually going to be very close, 3 sets. I think we'll see a break a set in the first 2, and then we'll go tie break again in the last one. And I think that last result from Daniil will be enough to give him the confidence he can do it again. I mean, he goes through to the final after winning the tie break.
Okay. Over to the other match. Let's give our prediction because we've not done that yet. We both have a similar sentiment on this match that it's going to be a close one and that Jack Draper can beat Carlos Alcaraz. I think he'll be pleased if he can get it to a close match, which is competitive. I do think Carlos has that extra gear. I think Jack has played a lot of matches, getting to the final of Doha, now getting to the semis here, playing against some really tough opponents on the way. They've not been 3 sets, but they've been straight sets, but gone far into them sets. And on all of that alone, I believe that Carlos Alcaraz will win this match, but it's going to be a really close one. And I'm going to have Alcaraz winning in the third set with just 1 break of serve in the third to clinch it. I think Jack can be pleased with that as well. If he can push him and show a bit of hope that he can win this one, then that is all he really needs to do. If he can win, of course, that'll be amazing.
Yeah, he's growing all the time. This could be 1 step too far. It's going to be devastating for him because he obviously just lost that final in Doha just recently. To lose a semi-final in the next one would be quite brutal as well.
I don't think it is. I don't think it is devastating.
It's growth, though.
For me, it's not devastating for a Jack Draper to be losing finals and semi-finals, especially of big events like a Masters against Carlos Alcaraz, who's just been the king of Indian Wells and won it so many times. I think that is not a bad thing at all. I think it's showing progression. I think it's showing an improvement from where he was. If he is to win, I believe he does become top 10. I'm not sure if he is top 10 at the moment.
No, not yet, but he will
something
be.
Else to consider, but I think it is a matter of time until he's a top 10 player, regardless of this event. And I don't think it is devastating, win or lose. I think he's had a fantastic tournament to this day, and he can be pleased.
Definitely. Well, I'm going to be going. Unfortunately for Draper, I don't think he's going to have enough in the tank. He will have to redline throughout this whole match to be able to beat Alcaraz, and I don't think he will be able to. I don't even know if he's going to get a set, to be honest. I think it may be 2 very close sets, like maybe even 2 tie breaks, and Alcaraz will just edge him on both.
Okay, well, there we go. You've heard our predictions. Let us know your predictions in the comment section below. Who do you think is winning Indian Wells? We're closing in on the final matches. We've got the semi-finals. That's going to be on very soon. And we'll be doing a podcast rounding up the women's and the men's later on tomorrow. But thanks everyone for watching. If you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe if you are new. Join us on Spotify where you can listen to our beautiful voices on there. If you don't want to see us, I don't blame you. And see you very soon.
See you on the next one.
Let's go, Jack.